Okay, I am on fire station number 14, and I'm trying to finish up an EPDM fleece back. Trying to put some finishing touches on it, but before I do that, we have got to look at the state of the roof. So what I have noticed is something called thermal bridging that's going on some of these curbs. Thermal bridging is where expansion and contraction of the material pulls loose from the transition from the wall to the roof transition. If you look at this one, this was installed maybe a week or so ago, and it's bridging very badly. This right here is just a little piece of primer or the tape that's just stretched loose from the corner, and if I just do this, now we got a gaping hole right there. If we look around this particular curb, what we're going to see is we're going to see it happening right here as well. If we go on around, we'll see the same thing right here. See where the tape is pulling loose from the corner? We just open it up right here. We have a gaping hole. We'll look at this corner right here. That's happening here as well. So we got a pretty good one there. We work our way on around. We're going to see the same thing right here. Just going around this roof, I noticed a lot of things that just make the situation a little bit harder to finish. So anywhere that you have a cured membrane that intersects, that creates a T, you have to put uncured transition patch there. So we've got one here. We've got one here. We got one here. We got one here. And we didn't have to have all these transition patches if the person that roofed this would have used an uncured for this top cover strip. It would have eliminated the need for a T-patch here, T-patch here, and if they would have used an uncured here instead of a cover tape, it would have, and brought it out to here, it would have eliminated the need for another T-patch. But where it stands now, we need a T-patch here, 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 here. All this I'm saying is industry standard. You can look it up if you don't, if you have any doubts about anything I'm saying, just check it out, and it'll all check out. So we have a T-patch that's going to have to be here as well. They did not bring their cover strip past the splice far enough. So there's going to have to be a T-patch here, T-patch here, T-patch here. If we look on around this roof, they did use uncured here, but they didn't bring it past their T 3 inches. Everything has to be 3 inches past your T. Everything has to be 3 inches past your T. So if they would have brought their flashing out to here, it would have been okay. We wouldn't have to have a T-patch here. If they would have brought their flashing out to here, it would have been okay. We wouldn't have to have a T-patch here. Now, up here, they did use uncured membrane for their transitions. Well, they roofed the curb. This one looks okay. But on their uncured membrane, here is our T right here. So there's the T. You can see the T, correct? All right. So it has to be 3 inches. So if they would have brought their membrane that far out, we wouldn't have to put a T-patch here. But as it stands, we have to put a T here. We'll have to put one here because they're not past the T 3 inches. If we look around here on this wall, again, they didn't bring their patches far enough out. So we got a T right here. So there needs to be a transition patch here. They actually put a T-patch on this, but it looks like they spliced a fish mouth and they didn't cover the fish mouth with their transition patch. Nor did they put any lap seal underneath the target patch. Not target patch, but T-patch. If you look at these T-patches I have here, that's got a little bit of lap seal underneath it. That's what you see underneath these T-patches. They should kind of look like that once you're done with them. We're just going to keep going on around this roof. And let's see here. I'm a little roller. We're going to look at what they got going on here. So let's just check this out. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but if you can see that water coming out of this seam right here, see that? That's a leak right there. So we're gonna have to transition patch here, transition patch here, transition patch here. If they would have just brought an uncured membrane out to right here, 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 well, right here, we would not have had to put any transition patches on it. Now, if we look a little bit closer at this corner, what we're going to see is another case of thermal bridging on this roof curb. So if you see this, now I'm not doing anything that isn't already doing itself. So if you'll see the seam tape, the tape is actually stretching away from the wall. So if we just look right there, now we've got a fish mouth where thermal bridging is occurring here. So we've got that quite a bit around here. We're gonna go up here and look at a few things. All right, so they did this is called a blowout patch. When you do a blowout patch, I mean, you do it like this, but you've got to remember, you've got a transition or a T right here. Okay, so you see the T, everything has to come 3 inches past the T. So if they would have came out here further, we wouldn't have to put a transition or a T-patch here. Transition patch here. If you look right here, they would have brought this out 3 more inches. We wouldn't have to put a transition patch there. And what should we do now? So let's look at this scupper flashing. So they flashed the scupper in for me, so I could just slide my scupper box in once I create it. But if we'll do a simple pull test, we'll see that their white glue is not holding properly, and that is failing. They've also used seam tape on these, and they shouldn't use seam tape on that. They should use an uncured membrane, which has this little pattern here. And if we look a little bit closer, we'll see that their uncured is popping loose right here, so that's a fail. And this is the reason why you don't use a cover tape on any transition like this, because you can see this, it's already starting to fail. Now, we're gonna go around and we're just gonna do a simple pull test on the target patches for the pops. So if we do a little simple pull test, see that? That shouldn't come up like that. And this isn't anything that I'm doing bad. This should stick down. It should resist some pull. It's not resisting any pull. They forgot to put a 12-inch strip on this. If they would have used an uncured 12, it would have eliminated any need for a transition patch in these areas. We're going to look around at the substrate where they got the screws, and if you can see where the screw is popping up, that should never happen. That should be seated and kind of not really countersunk, but very snug on these plates. You should not be able to step on these and push these screws out. that should not be happening. It's not happening everywhere, but it's happening in a way to where if you get a stickler for a inspector, he's going to fail this. If we look around a little bit more, I guess you guys have already seen the pictures of this. But I'm just going to look a little bit closer at some of their. Look at this. Okay, so I guess you guys get the gist of what I'm talking about. Again, we're going to need a T-patch here, T-patch here, T-patch here. I'm going to look over here. Everything here is going to have a T-patch because it's not 3 inches past the corners. And again, like I said, you can look at, you can check any manual. You can, you know, call Carlisle if you want to. You can ask anybody. Everything I'm saying is true. Like we might have a little bit of thermal bridging here, but not too bad. I guess it's gonna be okay. Like that. But now we do have some boards that are, if you can see this, some boards that are kind of sticking up. It probably could have got a couple screws in that seam. But we have a few screws out through here. It's not so bad down here. Pretty bad up there. So that's kind of about the gist of it. It's just a lot more work than really needs to be done. Okay, so here's another little thing. They did do a uncured on this, but if you can see the T here, they didn't even cover this part. But if they would have came out another 3 inches, it would have eliminated the need for a T here. But where they have their tape lats right here, that creates a need for a T as well. If we look at this curb, we can see it starting the thermal bridge. You see the material is starting to pull loose a little bit. That might make it, but it might fail. Okay, so let's look at this right here. Oh, check this out. So we're starting to have thermal bridging on this one as well. If you'll see, just look at the tape. It's pulling loose. So you got thermal bridging there. I'm not doing anything that's out of the ordinary. I really have reservations about going and coming back and having to do all, you know, stuff like this. There has to be a T-patch here because they use this little whatever, but we have a hole right here. There's a hole here, but I already put a T-patch on that. I really have reservations about coming back and doing all this stuff because it just feels like you guys have some internal politics going on, and I really don't want to go through this situation anymore on something like this. It's number one, it's, you know, as many things going on as this roof, if somebody just leaves you all this stuff, it doesn't feel great. But going through what I went through with all that stuff a couple weeks ago, it just feels even worse. The reason I'm documenting this is I don't know how the politics work with you guys, or, you know, what will be the end story. I'm just doing this so I have documentation of what I'm talking about. And if you guys can, if you guys believe what I'm saying, then that's cool. If you don't, that's cool as well. But I really just, I don't want to go through this again. Anyway.